It's Sunday, February 1st, 2026, and I want to talk about our February outlook. What can you expect temperature-wise, precipitation-wise? We're going to get into that. This right here is the 30-day temperature anomalies from the European weeklies or European extended ensemble, and it's expecting the East to remain cold. And the East has been running below average all winter. So if we actually see this verify for February, this could go down as one of the coldest winters on record for the East. I'll also in this video get into our 7 to 10 day forecast and who looks to see the biggest snow for the month of February. I really appreciate you guys watching this video. If you like this type of content, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. And of course, if you like the video, Let's get into the weather updates. Starting with a quick look at our radar, we have a lot of moisture moving into the Pacific Northwest, low elevation rain, high elevation snow. We've also got some snow moving through portions of the Midwest, the upper Midwest here, just a clipper system. Although we got a little bit more snow than expected here in Minneapolis. I think we may have gotten 2 to 3 inches where I am, and we were only expecting maybe an inch and a half. So there's some energy with this. Maybe some of you overperform as this clipper moves through, and then across the rest of the country, we're pretty dry. Now this we need to talk about. Let's take a look at what the Climate Prediction Center thinks for our temperatures through the month of February. Here's our 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. Warm out west, cold in the east. The same story we've been seeing pretty much all winter. You get into the 8 to 14 day, same thing. And then we push into 3 to 4 weeks. I've been saying it. I feel so bad for people out there in the Rockies who are just trying to have a good ski season. It's been dry. Temperatures have been above average. I think we do have 1 or 2 shots here in February for big snow into the Rockies. But if you're out there, I'd just cross my fingers because obviously it's been rough this winter so far. On the other hand, if we continue to see this cold air and this verifies out east, again, this could be a winter for the record books for some. Taking a look at our 7 to 10 day forecast, in the short term, lots of cold air out east, warm and dry out west, except for in the Pacific Northwest, we do have some moisture streaming in there, as I said, but as we get into Tuesday, that's going to be gone. And then Tuesday afternoon into Wednesday morning, we could see some snow down in this area here, the Ohio Valley, out towards the mid-Atlantic. Someone could get lucky and end up with over 6 inches from this if we can get this low to deepen enough. I think there's a possibility for some severe weather to the south here as well. But continued cold, continued kind of clipper snow moving through the east. Look how dry the west is, and the west is pretty warm at this point too. Pushing out to next Friday, there's a possibility we get a nice little snowstorm for New England and the mid-Atlantic. Does the snow stall and just dump in the Appalachian Mountains and not make it out to the coast? That happens sometimes. Right now, the latest Euro thinks we're going to get that snow up and down the I-95 corridor, but I'll watch this closely and keep you updated. And then pushing into the end of next weekend, maybe we actually get some moisture out here, and not just for the Pacific Northwest, but slowly making its way down into the central Rockies. A little bit of a warm up for the plains and out east, and this is when you get an opportunity here if we do get this ridge setting up over the plains and pushing out east. Baroclinic boundary could set up through the plains and up towards the upper Midwest, and maybe we get a big snowstorm somewhere out here as we get around February 10th and 11th. Now this is over 200 hours out, so take this with a grain of salt, but I did say in the beginning of my video, I think we're going to have a couple opportunities for some good snow out in the Rockies, maybe the plains, maybe the upper Midwest, not just clippers in February. This is an opportunity for those areas. Here is the 10-day temperature anomalies from the European ensemble, and we're running 5 to 15 degrees below average out east. Again, cold. There's not much to say. The other area that really sticks out here is portions of the northern Rockies and the northern plains. You could be running well above average over the next 10 days. So what's happening with the month of February? Why does it look so cold out east? Why does it look so dry out west? Here is the setup, at least that the European weeklies is seeing, and we'll look at the Teleconnections in a second, but most of the global see something like this. Pretty negative NAO setting up. What does that usually give you the opportunity for? Well, maybe some nice winter storm tracks through the Ohio Valley or up the East Coast. But besides that, you can see how our models want to set up our jet stream, potentially a northwesterly flow, cold air downstream into the east, and warm air continuing to move into the west. More of a dry setup. You would really have that moisture and that energy riding over your jet, pouring down into the east, and that's where that cold air would be going as well, and you'd still be kind of choked out by that dry air and above average temperatures out west. Now, as I said, I don't think this is going to be the whole month of February. I do think we get a thaw in the east. We warm up a little bit. We potentially get a nice storm into the Rockies, into the upper Midwest, maybe into the second week of February. But as a whole, it's hard to disagree with this. The Climate Prediction Center sees this type of setup. Pretty much all the globals agree we're going to get something like this. Although there's always times when we have tons of agreement on a monthly outlook across the models and it just completely busts at the last second. And everyone looks back and says, what did we miss? So even though confidence is here, I do kind of believe the setup for February. We need to watch this closely over the next few days and see if there's any changes one way or the other. I will say with the setup, I'd expect maybe 2 or 3 big snowstorm opportunities out here. Like I said, through portions of maybe the northern southeast, Ohio Valley, mid-Atlantic, and New England, but I'd expect a higher frequency of snowstorms through the Great Lakes region in the upper Midwest because you're going to get a lot of clippers that are riding down with this jet stream if we have this kind of setup on average throughout the month. Storms that dive down here with this setup, they're going to have the warmth from the Gulf and the Western Atlantic, and you can get very, very powerful winter storms with that setup and potentially some severe weather weather in there as well. We'll have to see if we get a nice subtropical jet turned on in here as well. I do think that's a possibility. Taking a look at our teleconnections, and this is our European AI all the way through February 16th. You can see what the ensembles want to do. The average wants to stay negative. Tropospheric polar vortex interruption, more cold air down to the states. This doesn't really tell us if it's going to be out west or out east, but it tells us that Arctic air is trying to make it down towards the mid latitudes, once again forcing those below average temperatures. You take a look at the graph cast, it agrees. You take a look at the European weeklies, all the way basically until March 1st, the ensembles keep this AO negative. GFS ensemble as well. Now let's take a look at the PNA, because this is going to tell us where's that cold air going to go. Well, according to the European AI, at least through the first 10 days of February, it expects that cold air to be out east. Why? Well, this right here represents a western ridge. So again, above average temperatures, drier conditions for the west, and that downstream flow of cold air and moisture is going to be going out to the east. You take a look at the graph cast, it agrees. The European weeklies, it agrees. And the GFS extend it. Now, the European weeklies and a lot of these models do see that PNA collapsing now, though, as we get towards the middle of February. Does it collapse and stay collapsed, or does the ridge build itself back up again? That's the big question. I think that ridge collapses for maybe 4 to 7 days, and unfortunately, it begins to build back up again. I do believe the Climate Prediction Center's 3 to 4 week outlook, that's kind of assuming we're going to go back into negative NAO, positive PNA, negative EPO setup with cold air and moisture back into the east. So unfortunately, I don't expect this to be a great month again for the West. But as I said, they're going to have 1 or 2 opportunities, and those 1 or 2 opportunities, in my opinion, could be big. They could bring a lot of snow that sticks around. And you know what? For the West's sake, I hope I'm wrong. I've done okay with my outlooks over the last 2 months, but I really want some cold air and some snow out there for people in the West. Since meteorological winter has started, these have been our conditions. Very cold out east, really just cold east of the Mississippi, except for most of Minnesota and northeastern North Dakota have been running below average. And look at the West. I mean, this is what I've been talking about all video. You're not imagining it if you're out there, especially in the mid-Atlantic, portions of the Great Lakes. Like, it's been cold. It's been much colder than your normal winter. And then you take a look at our departures from normal snowfall. Look at the east. I mean, you can basically split this down the middle too. I know we had a nice snowstorm through portions of northern Texas and Oklahoma, but above average snow for a lot of people out east and below average snow for pretty much everyone out west. This winter is going to be the tale of east and west, like yin and yang. The last thing I want to mention is what's going on in the stratosphere. Most of our models do see our polar vortex being stretched and then eventually splitting as we move through February, potentially as we get into the second week of February. Now, I've explained this in a lot of my videos. When you have a tropospheric polar vortex breakdown, that cold air can instantly move down to the mid latitudes within days. When you have a stratospheric polar vortex breakdown, that's the coldest air on the planet. That air can take anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks to get down to the mid latitudes. So if we were to see this, say, in the second week of February, we could see the repercussions from it at the end of February or even into early March. Again, that would be interesting. If we do stay cold out east in February, like the Climate Prediction Center expects, would this mean just more extended cold air into March? It potentially would. So people need to be watching this very, very, very closely. We're already having a well below average temperature-wise winter out east. And again, this could just continue to push that cold air into the east as we move through March. As I said, I really appreciate you guys watching this video. If you like this type of content, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. I try and post videos every day and live stream every single day as well to answer all of your weather-related questions. If you want to be able to take a look at everything I go over in my videos, join my Discord. All the information is in there for free, and we're growing an awesome community. There's tons of weather enthusiasts in there as well that can answer your questions. There's a link to my Discord right down in the description. Again, I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the next video or live stream.